Alright YouTube, last time we spoke, this was on the bench. It is now in the bay. Starting to hook it up. I still got my back wall to put on, but you might notice the floor is gone. We'll go over that in a second. But there she sits, the Oasis heating hydronic system. Let's plumb it in. Alright, so a little plumbing progress update. Little work area under the rig. So I've got my 3-inch line in. Let's try this again. 3-inch line is in. And goes up over the frame, back to this tank, which is my black water, technically. And then goes over the frame to my gray water. And if you look on the other side, I've got my gray water fill, which comes around this way. You can see I've got those rubber unions to kind of help reduce some of the vibration and stress on the tanks. There's another one. There's my 3-inch. And that is where it kind of, let's see, goes up into the cab for my kitchen sink and shower. And you'll notice that the two tanks are actually tied together right there. So I'm gonna have two gray tanks, and if I ever want to separate them, I just pull the coupler off, put a couple caps on, and then the two tanks become black on the left and gray on the right. But right now, since I'm gonna have a composting toilet, I am doubling up my tanks and tying everything into the two. So the shower and sink will actually, since the way that T's kind of shaped, where's that sucker? Since the way that T's kind of shaped, it'll actually kind of run down to the gray tank inherently, and once the gray tank gets full, it'll come back and fill the black tank. So there's some of the plumbing. So that is my 3/4 heating line, which we're stringing out to a great distance to get into here. And obviously something's missing in here. So that's how the hydronic heating system sets in the bay. What we'll basically do is feed the lines to where the little heaters are going. And there's actually going to be one in the floor in the bedroom, one in the kitchen, one in the living room, and then one in the bathroom. And then we've got the bays, but that's a whole different zone. So while I'm up here, let's see. Let's go over the tanks. So I've got my rear tank, which is usable for a black water tank. I'm not going to use it for a black water tank because I'm going to have a composting toilet. But all you got to do is just go straight down and punch a hole in it wherever you want the toilet. So there's my second gray water tank with a vent out the top. And this little guy right here is my hookup for the shower and the kitchen sink. And you'll notice that it's plumbed directly into the gray tank. It also goes all the way over to the actual gray tank. And if you look, that's my gray tank, the official gray tank dump valve. And it's a cable valve, and it is plumbed into the water bay. So there's my gray water tank, the actual gray water tank. And that bad boy vents back here at the top, goes all the way out. And what's going to end up happening is it is going to come up through my corner and then actually out through the slide out. We have yet to figure out how that's all going to work, but through the sliding roof actually. But that's where that's going. And you'll notice on all of my fittings, somewhere I've got these rubber couplers, at least one on each of the junctions, and that is to help mitigate things kind of shaking apart. So you can see I've got one there, got another one there on the black tank. My 3-inch dump is there, and then I've got one more right there. So back to the cable. The cable actually goes up and over and under the frame and then goes inside the water bay. So I have a dump handle for the gray there, and the black, if you can see it, there's the main stack that combines the black and the gray, and that dumps out right under one of the rear bays, just past the tires, and that's a manual valve. So there you go. There's a quick walkthrough. Let's get started on this mess. So still working on plumbing. Obviously I've got some of my radiant hot water heat lines in to where the heaters are going to go. And there's one in that bay. There's going to be one in the bathroom. Where's my chunk? And I'm still waiting on my green line heating tube, and it's a very specific heating tube because it's got multiple layers. Regular tube from Napa has got 2 of these 3 layers. You can see this outer red layer, a like bluish white, and then the black layer. Being as how the manufacturer kind of sent this pipe specifically with the unit, the Oasis, I thought it'd be best that I match that for what I am short on the bays. So I'm gonna have a heater over in the back bay there that'll actually cascade over into the battery section between the floor joists. Between the floor joists. And then I've got another one in what is, gingerly walking around the studs. Another one down there, which is actually the water bay. That's where my water pre-filter, and that's where the drain handle is for the gray tank. So my second one's going there, and that will actually baffle over between the bays in these 2 floor joists. And basically it'll be an open duct from one side to the other with minimal insulation. Maybe an inch, and then I'll have a 2-inch air gap. So I am waiting on my plumbing to arrive, and I'm waiting on electrical to arrive. So the next project I am trying to do on this cold ass rainy May day. So everywhere you see a piece of aluminum or steel, I am going to be drilling holes, I think, and insulating each stud and or joist throughout the rig. And the reason being is, if you do the math, I am losing heat through each one of those, and for every roughly 16 inches I've got 2 inches of 2x4, 2x3 basically, that I'm losing heat on widthwise. So basically I've got my 16 inches from here to here, and within that I've got 1.5 inches that I am losing on insulation. So basically 10% of my rig is losing insulation factor. So these studs don't insulate very well. There's obviously an air gap. The other big concern is the thermal bridging that's going to happen and possible condensation. So my fear is, with no insulation, I've got this solid surface here, and then I've got this metal that is going to pull heat basically from one side to the other, and then it could condensate on the inside, or it could condensate on the inside of the coach. I'm not sure. So that's my big concern. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up drilling holes about every 2 feet is my hope. So here's one, and I'll fill the bottom, let that set, fill the next layer, let it set, and I think I can fill the top. On the top piece, I think I can drill 1 hole, fill the bottom, and then fill the top. And then on the ceiling rafters, joists, whatever they are, I'm not sure how I'm going to tackle those yet, but that's the plan. So it's an ass of holes to drill and an ass of insulation, but I think it's going to be worth it in the end. It'll add some extra weight, but it'll definitely make this thing a lot warmer, and it will hopefully protect me from some thermal bridging that's going to happen. I think it's thermal bridging. Is that the right word? All right, so back to the Oasis. This is a shot obviously from the top side. I've got one loop installed, and that was the loop for all the cabin heating for the bedroom, bathroom, living room, and kitchen. And that's this guy, the feed, and that goes basically starts and goes to the bedroom, and then it goes through the bedroom heater all the way over to the center of my kitchen, through the kitchen heater, over to the living room heater, and then over to the bathroom heater, and then it comes all the way back down and around, and that's my return on the far end. And you'll see the two PEX lines in there. Those guys actually go through the frame and head up into the engine compartment for the engine preheat. And this is the front side, obviously. I've gotten some insulation in, you probably noticed from the top side, and my Phylon in, and got to work on a few more little details. This is my overflow line. I've got electrical and some other plumbing obviously to work on, and I'm still waiting on my heavy duty heater hose from Green Line to ship. Get that installed for the heat in the bays. There you go. So a sneak peek into the next video, guys. I've got a couple spray foam tests. Loctite on the left side and great stuff on the right side. Obviously the great stuff did not fare as well. Trying a little test sample on a steel stud. Let's see if we can come up with something better.